All right, so good day to you, fifth graders. Yesterday we focused on U.S. customary units of length, and we focused on inches and how there's 12 inches in a foot, 3 feet in a yard, 5,280 feet in a mile, and so forth. Length, how long, how much distance is traveled. Today our focus is on capacity. Okay? Capacity is how much can fit inside of something. How much liquid does something hold? Okay? It doesn't even necessarily need to be liquid. I mean, it can be cooking materials like salt, sugar, flour, can go in capacity as well. But most of the time, we typically use liquid. Okay? So, you see this big G. Okay, we're not going to do the alphabet. A, B, C, D, E, F, G. No, that is not what we're doing today. I want to just use this as a little pictorial, and I'm going to encourage you, once again, I know we're not using notes and taking notes quizzes during this time of online learning, but when I'm done with this first part of the lesson, I'm going to pause here, and I'm going to encourage you to write down when we're all done. This is just the first part, and we're going to fill this in more as we go along here over the next few minutes. So let me get my marker off. When we think of capacity, the biggest unit that we're going to focus on is the gallon, which is why we put a big G. Okay? The G is for gallon. Now, most of you probably get a big gallon of milk when you go to the store, whether you go to Harding's or Meijer, Walmart, whatever you do. You probably get a gallon of milk, okay, to pour on your cereal or to eat with your chocolate chip cookies or whatever it is you're doing. But the big gallon is the biggest one we're going. Now, within a gallon, okay, we have quarts, okay? And it takes 4 quarts to make a gallon. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a Q here, a Q here, a Q here, and a Q there. And so inside our big G, we have 4 Qs, okay? And this is to remind us that it takes 4 quarts to equal 1 gallon. 4 quarts to equal 1 gallon. Now, within each quart, we have a smaller unit called a pint. Now, if you ever get chocolate milk at school, sorry, we're talking a lot about food today, cookies and cereal. Maybe you get some milk at school or the chocolate milk, and it's reminding me of Mrs. Hoover's cooking, and so this is a problem. I hope you're not watching this video while you're hungry, or you might just need to pause it and go get a snack or something. I'm not sure. But if you think about Mrs. Hoover's cooking, let's say you get a milk or it's Tuesday, it's chocolate milk day, all right? Those milk containers that you get at school, those are a half pint, okay? So if you can envision one of those, put 2 of those together, and that makes a pint. So when we talk about a pint, we're talking about the amount of 2 of your school milk cartons, okay? And it takes 2 pints to make a quart. So within each Q, I'm going to write 2 P's to show that it takes 2 pints to make 1 quart. Now, even smaller than that, we have what's called a cup, okay? And those milk cartons, even though on the milk carton, I think it says half pint, a half pint is the same, it's equivalent to 1 cup. So one of those containers is 1 cup, and it takes 2 cups to make 1 pint. So inside of every pint, I'm going to put 2 C's to show that it takes 2 cups to make 1 pint. And there's our finished product. And I encourage you to pause the video at this point. Okay? Take a screenshot, do something, copy this down. I'll review it again. The big G stands for one of those big gallon milk containers that you would get from the store. You can get quart-sized things at the store too, and it takes 4 quarts to make 1 gallon. That's why we have 1, 2, 3, 4 quarts. Now it takes 2 pints to make 1 quart. So once again, 2 pints make 1 quart, which is why we have 2 P's inside each Q. 2 P's here, 2 P's here, 2 P's here, and 2 P's there. And then remember the cup, that's your milk carton that you get from school. And 2 of those make 1 pint, which is why in each pint we have 2 C's to show that 2 cups make 1 pint. So I encourage you to write this down, okay? If you bring this assignment to class, if you come to the Zoom session on Thursday, April the 16th, that's when we'll be doing this assignment. Then you have it with you to look at, because when I go to help you, it'll be good to have this to look at. So we're going to be coming back to this though. So that was kind of an introduction, but we're going to be coming back to this information to actually do what's on your assignment. So once again, it's going to be telling you to convert. Now you'll remember what we did yesterday when we had to convert how many inches in a foot, and if we had 100, you'll remember we talked about how 144 inches would make 12 feet because there's 12 inches in a foot. We did 144 divided by 12, and we did all those conversions. It gave us a unit, and we needed to figure it out. So the first one we're going to look at tells us this: 5 gallons equals blank pints. 5 gallons equals blank pints. So we want to go and think, okay, just like we did yesterday, we want to compare. This particular problem is working with gallons and pints. So I go back up to my conversion chart. My biggest measurement is a gallon. And then I see my pints. My pints are inside the quarts. So I need to be able to see, 5th grade, that 1 gallon is bigger than 1 pint. Now, some of you are going to say, oh, but Mr. Swack, the problem says we have 5 gallons. Well, you're right. But for the point of conversions, as we're figuring out whether we're going to multiply or divide, we have to think of 1 gallon. And since 1 gallon is bigger than 1 pint, it's the same idea as yesterday. The measurement is getting smaller, which means the number is getting bigger. So this number is going to be bigger than 5, which means I'm going to have to multiply. Okay, but multiply by what? Well, let's see. It says 5 gallons in equals how many pints? Well, I need to see how many pints are in my 1 gallon. Here I have 1 gallon. How many P's do I have? Well, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I have 8 pints in 1 gallon, but I have 5 gallons. So I have to think to myself, 5 times 8. Yet again, 5th grade, why it's important to know our multiplication tables. We should all know that 5 times 8 equals 40. 5 gallons makes 40 pints. Now, let's say, for example, okay, let's say, for example, I want to go, I don't know, let's say I have 48 cups. So you got 48 containers of chocolate milk. That's a lot of chocolate milk, all right? 48 cups equals so many quarts. 48 cups equals so many quarts. All right. So first of all, I want to go to my chart and I want to see, well, what's bigger, 1 cup or 1 quart? Well, so I go back up to my chart and I see cups are the smallest one. Cups are inside of pints and pints are inside of quarts. So I can tell from looking at my diagram here that cups are smaller than quarts. because cups are my smallest and I have to work out to get to the quart. Cups are inside pints, pints are inside quarts. So I can see that cups are smaller than quarts. So 1 cup is less than 1 quart. So my measurement is getting bigger. And since my measurement is getting bigger, my number is going to get smaller. When my number is going to get smaller, I'm going to divide. What's my division question going to be? Well, let's see. I know it's going to involve 48 because that's the number that's there. But let's see how many cups are in a quart. Well, when I look at one of my cues, I can see that inside this cue there are 1, 2, 3, 4 cups. So I know that I can think that 4 cups equals 1 quart. But I have 48 cups. So the division problem I'm going to do, since it's 4 cups in 1 quart, is 48 divided by 4. Not a difficult division problem. If you need to set it up this way, you can, okay? All right, can't be lazy, 5th grade. Got to be willing to do the work. 48 divided by 4 is 12. And I see that 48 cups is going to be the same as 12 quarts. Now, you're going to get something that looks like this. And this measurement was not included. 128 fluid ounces equals blank pints. Let me clear this off a little bit. Now some of you might say, oh, Mr. Swack, fluid ounces wasn't in our big diagram. Don't panic. No reason to panic. Everybody just relax, take a deep breath. All right? And what you need to know for this, and you might want to write this down if you can't remember, 8 fluid ounces equals 1 cup. Takes 8 fluid ounces to make 1 cup. But I'm going from fluid ounces to pints, okay? And so, since I know from my chart that I go from cups to pints, I'm going to have to take my fluid ounces, turn it into cups, and then go and turn it into pints. Now it says that 8 fluid ounces equals 1 cup. So if I only have 1 fluid ounce, I don't have as much as 1 cup. So my measurement going from fluid ounces to cups is getting bigger, which means the number is getting smaller, which means I'm going to divide. And since there's 8 fluid ounces, I'm going to have to take 128 and divide it by 8. So we do this. 8 can't go into 1, but it can go into 12 once. 1 times 8 is 8. 12 minus 8 is 4. Drop the 8. 8 can go into 48 6 times. And I know there's none left over because with confidence I can say that 8 times 6 is 48. So I get 16. Now 5th grade, you got to be careful and be patient with what you're doing. Remember, this is not the final answer. All this is the number of cups. I have taken the 128 fluid ounces and I have turned it into cups, 16 cups. So now I'm left with 16 cups equals blank pints. So I go back to my big chart and I see, well, how many cups make 1 pint? Well, I see that 2 cups make 1 pint because there's 2 C's inside the P. So I know that my measurement says that 2 cups equals 1 pint. Let me get this out of there a little bit so that's not a distraction. All right, we just kind of focus on this problem. 2 cups equals 1 pint, but I have 16 cups. Once again, since 1 cup is smaller than 1 pint, because according to my chart, it takes 2 cups to make a pint, my measurement is getting bigger. So my number is going to get smaller. And since it's 2 cups that make 1 pint, those are the 2 numbers in my division problem. 16 and 2. 16 divided by 2 equals 8. 16 cups equals 8 pints, which means 128 fluid ounces equals 8 pints. My final answer is 8. Now, let's talk about, once again, because just like yesterday, sometimes you're going to have to do that. All right? Same thing, just a different style. Okay, so let's look at one example here. Let's say, I don't know, let's go 22 quarts and 5 gallons. So I've got quarts and gallons. So I go to my chart back up here. This is why hopefully you've seen the importance of writing this down. I need to see what the relationship is between quarts and gallons. All right, well, I can see that I have 1, 2, 3, 4 Qs, 4 quarts inside of my 1 gallon. So 1, 2, 3, 4 quarts make 1 gallon, because inside my big G, I have 1, 2, 3, 4 quarts. Okay, so what I'm doing here is that I'm saying, okay, 4 quarts in a gallon. So since I'm trying to turn these quarts into gallons, okay, I'm going to do 22 divided by 4. Because going from quarts to gallons, the measurement is getting bigger, which means the number is going to get smaller, which means that I'm going to do 22 divided by 4. I want you to see what I did there, 5th grade. I took my division problem and I thought of it as a fraction. Sometimes it's going to be better for you to do this. You're really getting to the point in your math lives where you've really got to start realizing that division and fractions are the same thing. Okay? And we're not going to do all this stuff with remainders because we want exact answers. So I'm going to see, well, I'm just going to turn this into a mixed number. 4 can go into 22 5 times. There would be 2 left over. My denominator would be 4. Well, I don't even have to worry about simplifying, even though I could simplify this to 5.5, because what my point is not to get this number. My point is to see which is bigger. This is exactly 5. This is 5 2/4, which simplifies to 5.5, which means 5.5 is bigger than 5. So that's definitely the bigger measurement. Okay? So, that's when you do that conversion. And sometimes you're going to have to go and think about those in your conversion and making them greater than, less than, equal to. All right? Let's look at one more. Let's say, for example, we have 100 fluid ounces, and I'm trying to figure out what's bigger between that and 16 pints. All right, so once again, remember our 8 fluid ounces equals 1 cup. That's not actually in our chart, but we want to remember that 8 fluid ounces equals 1 cup. I've got 100 fluid ounces. So just like I did before, I need to turn this into cups first, which means I'm going to do 100 divided by 8. Going from fluid ounces to cups, 1 fluid ounce is smaller than 1 cup. So the measurement is getting bigger, which means the number's getting smaller. 100 divided by 8. I'm going to simplify that. I'm going to divide them both by 4. 100 divided by 4 is 25. 8 divided by 4 is 2. I think that's in simplest form, other than making it a mixed number. 2 can go into 25 12 times. There's 1 left over. My denominator is 2. So I get 12.5. My 100 fluid ounces is going to be changed to 12.5 cups. Now I go to my big chart here and I say, oh, okay, but it takes 2 cups to make 1 pint. And I have 12.5 cups. So I'm trying to see, okay, if it takes 12.5 cups, if I have 12.5 cups, and I'm comparing that to 16 pints, I'm thinking, okay, I see that there's 2 cups in a pint. So once again, going from cups to pints, 1 cup is smaller than 1 pint, because we know that it takes 2 cups to make a pint, because there's 2 C's in the P. So the measurement is getting bigger, which means the number is getting smaller, which means I need to divide. 12.5 cups. To figure out how many pints this is, I'm going to have to divide it by 2 because there's 2 cups in a pint. Okay? So I'm going to just say, all right, I've got 12.5, and I'm dividing that by 2. But I'm going to make a fraction out of that. That's going to become 2 over 1. This has to become a fraction. 2 times 12 is 24, plus 1 is 25. So I'm right back to where I came from. 25 over 2, right over there. 25 over 2. I'm dividing it by 2 over 1. So remember our rules of dividing fractions, folks. Multiply by 1 over 2. Because I have to make the reciprocal. 25 times 1 is 25. 2 times 2 is 4. Okay? So I do 25 times 1, that makes 25. 2 times 2 is 4. I couldn't cross-check, so I can confidently say that's in simplest form. I just need to make it a mixed number. 4 can go into 25 6 times. There's 1 left over. My denominator is 4. Okay? I get 6 1/4. So my 12.5 cups become 6 1/4 pints. What's bigger, 6 1/4 pints or 16 pints? That's definitely bigger. Now, let's say we have a story problem. All right, let's look at a story problem. Now, yesterday we picked on Caleb a little bit. All right, let's give Maya a hard time today. How you doing, Maya? All right, so we're going to use Maya today. Okay, Maya made cookies, and the recipe called for 288 fluid ounces of water. You were making a lot of cookies, Maya. That's okay. More for Mr. Swack. How many cups of water did the recipe call for? So Maya made cookies and the recipe called for 288 fluid ounces of water. How many cups of water did the recipe call for? Well, remember our measurement. 8 fluid ounces equals 1 cup. 8 fluid ounces equals 1 cup. If I have 1 fluid ounce, I have less than 1 cup. So I'm trying to take the 288 fluid ounces and turn it into cups. So my measurement is getting bigger, remember, because 1 fluid ounce is less than 1 cup. So my measurement is getting bigger, which means my number is getting smaller, which means I'm going to divide. And since it's 8 fluid ounces that make 1 cup, I'm taking my 288 fluid ounces and I'm dividing that into groups of 8 because each 8 is 1 cup. Well, 8 can't go into 2, but it can go into 28 3 times. 8 times 3 is 24. 28 minus 24 is 4. Bring down the 8. 8 can go into 48 6 times. And I know that 8 times 6 is 48. So 48 minus 48 is 0. I get 36. It called for 36 cups of water. Once again, 6th grade, a longer video today, making up for not having videos last week. But hopefully you stuck it all the way through. And this will help you on sheet 10.2, which we'll look at on Thursday, uh, April the 16th, I believe. All right, have a good day. Bye.